And as a urologist, it is not uncommon for me to talk to my patients about vibrators, for me to recommend using vibrators for their conditions. So I was interested in the history of vibrators. How did we get here? That's what we're going to talk about today. 50% of women use and own these, and a third of men use these. What am I talking about? Take a guess. Vibrators. Yes, the vibrator. And if you've been following me, if you know me just a little bit, you know I love vibrators. And as a urologist, it is not uncommon for me to talk to my patients about vibrators, for me to recommend using vibrators for their conditions. So I was interested in the history of vibrators. How did we get here? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, September is Sexual Awareness Month, so this couldn't be more timely. September also happens to be Prostate Cancer Awareness Month and Urology Awareness Month. But we're going to talk about sex because lots of us do it, lots of us want to know more about it, and lots of us are too scared to talk about it. But I am not. I'm here to talk about it. So let's get into the history of vibrators. So vibrators were originally developed for medical purposes, y'all. They gradually evolved into popular sexual aids that we know well today. We believe vibrating objects may have been used as far back as ancient Greece or Rome, but the earliest documented use of a vibrating device for medical purpose dates back to the 18th century. Physicians would use hand-cranked devices to treat hysteria in women. By the way, hysteria comes from the Greek word or root hystera, which means uterus. Yes. Hysteria, which is considered crazy and anxious and all those things, actually comes from the word uterus. Sexism in medicine has been around since the dawn of medicine. Anyway, I digress. These vibrating devices were used for a wide range of symptoms, often ascribed to women, including anxiety, irritability, and sexual frustration. Doctors may have actually prescribed clitoral orgasms by means of these devices for the treatment of hysteria. One such device, the Pulsicon, was invented by Dr. Gerald McCura and was a device that claimed to help women loosen up and improve blood circulation. It was a hand-cranked device that produced these vibrations. In the mid-19th century, steam-powered and other powered devices were invented to treat hysteria. These were early, really large contraptions, and you had to have a doctor to operate them, okay? Dr. George Taylor invented this steam-powered vibrator called the manipulator, and it was used to massage areas in the abdomen and pelvis, including the female genitalia. Y'all, it looks like a huge dildo attached to a steam engine. By the late 19th century, the first electrically powered vibrator, thank God for electricity, was used. They still, however, required a prescription from a doctor to obtain. So now we enter the early 20th century, 1900s, and vibrators begin to transition from medical devices that had to be done by a doctor prescribed to home appliances, to beauty aids, to health massagers. These allowed women and men to purchase vibrators without the need for a doctor's prescription. The Polar Club was an electrical vibrator that was marketed for health and beauty benefits and could be used at home. Vibrators then started to take a decline after the 1920s, 1930s, and they started to largely disappear from mainstream culture. Part of that was driven by the legitimacy, which was called into question, the legitimacy regarding its medical benefits for treating hysteria and other medical conditions. The FDA began cracking down on the marketing of vibrators as this cure-all for all these things. And so vibrators faded away. But enter the 1960s. Vibrators experienced a resurgence now, and it was primarily as a result of the feminist movement and sexual liberation, and they became a little bit more acceptable, and their design a little bit more user-friendly and discreet. Enter the magic wand, which is the prototype, the patriarch, or I should say matriarch, the earliest representation of sexual vibrators that we know today. And this allowed people to use these for purely sexual pleasure. Even though people like the sexology pioneer Betsy Dotson and sex educator started masturbation workshops, y'all. Masturbation workshops in the 1960s in New York City. She did these advocating for women's masturbation to gain self-knowledge. Even though that was going on, masturbation was still illegal in Texas in 1973. Yes, in Texas, there was an obscene device law that was present in 1973 that prohibited any device designed or marketed primarily for the stimulation of human genital organs. And this was still technically in effect. We don't care. The rabbit vibrator became famous partly thanks to Sex and the City in 1998 when Charlotte falls in love with her rabbit vibrator. Y'all know those rabbit vibrators. Y'all know those with little da-da-da-da. Anyway, in that same year, 1998, Alabama had a law that forbade the sale of any device marketed primarily for the stimulation of human genitals. And 2 women had been arrested. This is crazy. 1998 was just like, a couple years ago. In any case, the 21st century has seen a boom in sex toy industry, including vibrators and modernization of vibrators into various different types and varieties of uses and incorporating mutual vibration. So there's dual vibrators, there are couple vibrators, there are vibrating cock rings, there are anal vibrating beads, there are all sorts of shapes and sizes, so you don't have this typical phallic wand. There's literally a vibrator for anybody. And today, vibrators are largely considered a normal and healthy part of many individuals' sexual experiences. They are no longer associated solely with medical treatment. In fact, the idea that they were ever associated with medical treatment is kind of foreign to us. Instead, they become symbols of sexual empowerment, liberation, sexual confidence for all people. So I hope you learned something. I know I did. Let me know what you think, what you have in the comments. I want to hear it. History of vibrators. There you have it. A little bit of medicine, but a little bit of history for you. That's what we do right here. Down there, right here, every Wednesday. Join me, subscribe, hit that bell, boop, 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 in that order, and tell a friend. Hit that bell and subscribe too.